know if y'all can hear me. Can y'all hear me at all? I've been talking for several minutes. I don't know if y'all heard that. So, if you're in the chat, I see there are some people in here. So, if you're in here, you can just say hey if you'd like, real quick. But I'm gonna go ahead and put the if it will allow me. I hope it will. But I just want to put up the advertisement, and then I'm going to put up a link so that you can rent it. It's not very much to rent it all for like 48 hours. I did end up buying it. There's so much knowledge in it that you have to go back. It took me several days to watch it because of just things I've been through in my life, and it just was eye opening and opened some things that I had shut. So, anyway, so I mean, if you, I'm gonna put a trigger warning up. If you have ever been a victim of any kind of SA or trafficking or anything like that, proceed with caution because this could be triggering. It did trigger me, and you know, I had to pray about it. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and share now. Hold on.
My father had been sexually abusing me as far back as I can remember. He bragged about sexually abusing me in infancy. And even though I couldn't determine that what he was doing was wrong, my brain still responded to his sexual abuse on its own. Our brains autogenically respond to trauma the same way. And my brain was trying to protect me from the sexual abuse that I was enduring. And it was so suffocating to me as an infant that it caused what is known as dissociative identity disorder, or formerly known as multiple personality disorder.
This is now professionally defined, this disorder is, as the mind's sane defense to trauma too horrible to comprehend.
I developed a compartment in my brain, a little area behind amnesic barriers that was actually the neuron pathway shutting down in my brain in order to compartmentalize the memory of the abuse so that the rest of my mind could function normally as though nothing had happened.
They knew that that kind of compartmentalized brain response would be an ideal place to hide government secrets back then, because I couldn't think to bring those to mind. And this is why they started grooming me from such an early age. My father's sexual abuse expanded into child pornography, and he was sending this child pornography of me through the U.S. mails. And he was caught. The pornography was confiscated by a criminal faction of our government. The local politician approached my father and told him that he would receive immunity from prosecution if he would sell me into the CIA's MK-Ultra Project Monarch.
Project Monarch utilized a combination of psychology, cognitive neuroscience, trauma, and occult rituals to create within the victims one or more altered personas that could be then triggered and programmed by the handlers.
They subjected me to an occult blood ritual that was referred to as the right to remain silent. This blood ritual was so horrible that my mind readily accepted the mind manipulation that I endured afterwards, a hypnotic language, the neuro-linguistic programming that actually changed the way that my brain was functioning. They changed that so that they decided when, where, and how that particular compartment of my brain would be opened and accessed. And they replaced the triggering mechanism with hypnotic codes, keys, and triggers, hand signals. There's also phone tones that can also open those neuron pathways and give access to the compartmentalized memory as well.
All right, so if you're still with us, I see a couple of people had to leave. It's a lot, and that's just a sampling of it. And I'll drop a link below for anybody that wants to watch the whole movie. I would suggest it and take notes. This is Cathy O'Brien Story. As you can see, there were clips in there of her over the years. She actually, in 1990, the early 90s, had started speaking out about this. And she actually got a lot of the things that the CIA were hiding made where public knowledge could, it was public knowledge. It became unclassified documents. So people who doubt this stuff is true, there's actual proof of it. And I just want to tell people, hey, Katrina, how are you doing? I just want to say that it is so egregious what these people do that the natural human mind can't really comprehend it. Yeah, I know it. I hope you're blessed too. I hope you're blessed too, Katrina. And I can't keep the names in my head of the people I've talked to lately who have been through this. And those that are not ready to talk about it, I get it. But my journey has been long. It's really been long that I've been able to talk about the SRA that I was subjected to through Freemasonry and my family's bloodline at about 5 years old. Is the earliest memory I have of it, but I think we all know, if we are trauma survivors of any kind of trauma, we have a tendency to block out and black out things because it protects our mind. As Cathy O'Brien mentioned, trauma does something to our brain and our neurotransmitters in our brain that it does change the way we think and store information, the way that we see things, the way that we process things. And literally, it's been a little by little by little by little by little thing that over the years, since I was a little girl, even with the memories that I've got, that I have been just searching, and God's done it, I think, in a way that I could deal with it. That's what I think. I think that God, in all of his sovereignty and his grace and his mercy, like, I believe he brings people out of these situations for such a time as this, or whenever he wants something to be exposed. The best way to expose it are people who have actually gone through this on some level or another. And I realize even myself, like, I haven't gone through nearly the stuff that I've heard of. And but I've been through enough that I can imagine how horrible it would be. And I will give an open invitation to anybody that has been through this situation to contact me under my community page. Leave your name, and I will try to reach back out to you, and we can try to find a way to get up through email or just a private type of a messenger situation so that we can discuss it. Or you can just ask to come up on panel. And I do believe that most of the people that I have talked to are for sure survivors. Not just survivors, but warriors. That's what I'm going to call it, warriors. Because think about this. If we don't expose this stuff, and this is how I see it, it's kind of like, they depend on everybody keeping quiet about it. and remaining silent, because that way their dirty deeds can continue on with no problem. Here's the problem. A lot of the people got out of it, and they had help from God that actually brought some of these things back to mind in a way that we can start speaking about it, just even if it's little by little. Like, everything I've talked about is not everything I've experienced. Because, for one thing, I want to make sure before I talk about something, that it's not a false memory, or not just something that's not exactly what happened. So I really toil over things before I talk about it, and I pray about it first. And that's because I want to make sure that I never. Okay, there is a person right now that is an influencer, and she is very big on Twitter. Her name is Eliza Blue. I don't know if anybody's heard of her. She she said she was a trafficking victim. I've listened to the story, and I understand that trafficking victims can be of any age. I do understand that. However, I'm going to play something for you that she said out of her own mouth. Now, I'm going to ask you this, okay? Unless you're a survivor, like possibly Ghislaine Maxwell, who turned from the prey to the predator. I believe she was raised in this type of thing generationally, but as a woman, especially if you've been through this, how could you bring other children into that situation? And once you realize what's going on, you know what I'm saying? Like, once you realize that, you have got to stand up for the children. And if you watch Trance with Cathy O'Brien, it may shed some light onto you how an adult can actually be trafficked or be used for these type of things, and not even be cognitive of the fact that that's what's happening to them, because it is so deep. So I'm going to look for the Twitter thing really quick while I'm talking to you. And because I want to make sure that I get the right one. Because I've been on here on and off. And again, I want to bring attention to Megan Walsh, who is John Walsh's daughter from America's Most Wanted, and also the National Center for Exploited and Missing Children, okay? And I want you to look on Twitter, okay? Even if you don't tweet, I used to not tweet, and I'm still not the greatest at it. I'm learning, but I'm just telling you, I have been in contact with her now for, I don't even know how long. It's been a while. And she had her child taken from her by her parents at 5 days old. And this has only been a few months ago. Okay. So you can look up Megan, Meghan, Walsh _ So it will be at Megan Walsh _ And Walsh is WALSH. And I'll try to remember to put that link below as well. And for instance, I'm looking right now, 8 hours ago, she just tweeted this on her page. And this is public, so I'm reading something that's public. I would never say anything like, if I was asked to keep something quiet, I wouldn't put it out there. But I mean, we just go back and forth on Twitter, which is mostly all, I believe, public, so everybody can see it. But she just basically talks about what she's been through and what her parents have put her through, and how she was raised, and the indoctrination of certain belief systems that are more of a global type indoctrination from our own words. And well, I'm talking to you. I'm sorry. I hope this is not boring. I'm trying to look this up right now because I really want you to understand. Now, I think I put it actually on my Twitter account, so I think I can look it up that way. Let's see. I mean, not. I'll go ahead and let's see. I'll just go ahead and put my Twitter on there. I really don't. That doesn't really matter to me because people can go on there and look. So I'll go ahead and just add my Twitter to the feed so I can show you some of this stuff. If you're interested to see it, put a thumbs up. And I can show you some of the things that Megan Walsh has tried to expose. And I'm going to also expose to you the Eliza Blue, who says she's a trafficking victim. And I never want to doubt somebody for that. But when you hear what comes out of her mouth, you'll understand what I'm saying. It's very hard to reconcile the two things. So here we go. Let's see. Let me do it. I'm just learning, so be patient with me. Please. This is hard for me. I'm an older lady now. This picture means when I was younger, so let's see. Share the screen. Okay. I think I got it. I think I've got it. I do. Okay. Here we go, y'all. Let me make sure it's showing up. Can y'all see that? I think you can. I went back over. So I might not be able to see your comments for just a minute while I'm over there on the Twitter page trying to show y'all some of this stuff, okay? All right. Now, this person right here, Ariel, he actually is the one, or maybe Megan Walsh is the one that brought, that she had a podcast on Twitter the other night that I was listening to live, which brought me to it. So I want to, I'm looking at my notifications. Okay. He's responding to something I said. And I'm not even sure what he's responding to. See, I told you, I'm really not sure how to use Twitter yet. Okay, here we go. Trying to find out where the original post is. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is about the Satanic Church or the Satanic Temple. They actually had their grand opening today on February 14th, on Valentine's Day of all days, that you actually can still have an unaliving of your baby in the belly through the Satanic Temple because they went and fought and said that that was against their religious practices. So, unaliving babies in the mother's womb are a part of their religious rite. Okay, well, a long time ago they said that was not true. That they don't sacrifice babies. But what is that but a sacrifice? I don't know. Maybe somebody could help answer that. Trying to find this Eliza Blue. I know that I put. I know that I put her on my page, and I'm pretty sure. Well, is this my page? Y'all, I told you. I hope y'all are giving me some patience. And like I said, I can't see. Oh, you can? Hello, Wicked Whips Crochet Art. That's an interesting name. I'd love to know how you got that one. That's a good one. Let's see. All right, so let's look back at the Twitter. I'm going to find that. Trust me. I mean, it's just too much. Okay, just now, well, 20 hours ago, Megan Walsh tweeted, I was breaking generational curses and setting healthy boundaries when my mother and father couldn't take it and decided to take my children instead to do it their way and decided to do it their way, I guess. I have worked so hard to ensure a healthy environment for my children and to help others. And it's sad because children, when they're taken away from their parents, that is trauma. That is a huge traumatic experience. So I find that's just disgusting. And people are on here talking about, how the predators get away and they don't ever have to pay, kind of like what happened with Ronnie Lawson's son in the Summer Wells case. I believe there's some kind of connection there. Like they hid the fact that his son was facing CP charges and other things and has to register as an SO. Okay. And as many people as been looking at the Summer Wells case. Think about this for a minute. I'm sorry, I'm talking like that. I was mixing up Megan Walsh and the Summer Wells because the two W's. But think about this for a minute. How in the world does a little town like that, with all the police department in there, cover up that is he the sheriff, I guess? Yeah. That he actually could cover up his son's dirty deeds so that not even private investigators could find it. Nobody found this out or it would have been leaked. He was actually being charged by the time we all found out about it. The only reason we even found out about it is because he had to be put on the registry for SOs. So think about that for a minute. That is alarming. Why were they trying to hide it? I understand because he's the sheriff, but I think there's something a little deeper there. I could be wrong. I just think it's kind of strange. And also, he got a 20-year sentence and served one, or is serving one. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't even think it's in jail that he's having to serve it. And I could be wrong. So check on that before you repeat it. Because, I really do think that is the case, but I'm not sure. Let me see how to look this up because I thought this was, I'm so bad with Twitter. I'm really not kidding. I'm not lying when I say that. This looks like a lot of this stuff. Okay, but there's a lot of interesting things on here. You really need to get on here and get checked in with these people because first of all, they're speaking out against CPS and the atrocities that CPS has done against children and the parents, taking away their rights and honestly not even doing investigations before they just grab the children from them, which is kidnapping. And the trauma from that for children are horrible. And we basically don't have any freedom of speech almost anymore. I'll probably get a strike for this video, but I hope enough people are watching it live that if they do take down, that I will at least get the word out to people. Let's see. I'm just going to type it in and see what happens. She might have been trying to, I think she's been somebody said she has something to do with Twitter and knows Elon Musk and has gotten close to him. I think it was Megan. No, maybe not. It could have been somebody else. But basically they said that she has gotten close to him and she has something to do with Facebook now. And literally the other day I was exposing all this stuff. I got knocked off of Twitter for a while and then I appealed it and then I got back on that same night. But my my thing is why? You know, like why would you knock me off? What did I do? Except show what other people are showing. Okay. Probably a lot of y'all have already seen this. Here it is. Okay. This is Eliza, who says she was trafficked, and I don't want to doubt that because, I mean, look, she could still be brainwashed and being used. So I'm not going to say she wasn't. I am going to say this, though. When you hear this, you're going to just be like, what the H? I should consider I do have a Rumble account. You will not get strike there. Free speech platform. I do have one. I don't know if I've ever made a video on it. I have watched a lot of them, but you're right. I need to try to find out how to work that because I have StreamYard. I don't know if it'll go there or if I have to download my videos, and I'm literally learning as I go because this is hard. This is very hard. For me, I am older and it is just hard. This technology is passing me by. So let's go listen to this really quick because when you hear this,
So I think that
hold on, I don't know if you can hear it yet. I'm gonna try to make this page full so we can see everything. And can y'all see it and hear it? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Yeah, we're all doing this together. That's right, Katrina. We're all doing this together and we have to expose it. We've got to do it because we are the trees that are standing in the way of this snowball that started, and it started rolling downhill and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And unless there is some trees that are willing to be strong and stand up, to stand in the way, to stop the snowball, it's going to continue to roll and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And we have got to stand up and do it. Even if you weren't a victim of SRA or SA or trafficking, like still stand up and support those of us who have been through these things, because we all, no matter how little part or how bad or how big it was, that is trauma and it needs to be healed. So these people, including myself, need prayers and also just your support by not turning your head away. Like we've got to take our head out of the sand so that we can stop this in the future, and hopefully other little kids won't have to go through what some of us had to. Giddy Up says Megan's brother Adam is still alive. Yes. Yeah, I've seen that where she said that. And Too Strong also on YouTube interviewed her. Yeah, I saw that. Adam and the lady also on YouTube that deals in trafficking. True, on CPS. Exactly. I'm dealing with them suckers. Like, not with me because my kids are grown, but with a family member. And it's a mess. You're a survivor, Wicked. Well, you are more than a survivor. You're a warrior. That's right. That's what I say. Not a victim. I might have been a victim as a child because, we were victimized. But we are not victims anymore. We are survivors and we are warriors. And you know what else we are? We are also pioneers. And that's what I told Megan the other day on Twitter. I said, listen, Cathy O'Brien was a pioneer way long before, like, I was even understanding what I was even involved in. But she was a pioneer, and we are also pioneers because this is the beginning of the end of the evil people who are doing this to children and getting away with it, because we may not have a very loud voice individually, but collectively, like Jericho, we can bring the walls down to expose every dirty deed done in the secret, in hiding, in the darkness, with the windows blocked out where people can't see what's going on, right? So, yeah, let's listen to this, though. Let's listen to this piece of garbage. And let me know if you can hear it, okay? Whenever I push it.
So I think that the community and the child, if the child so desires to have intercourse with an adult, the parents, caregivers, and anyone that's, I mean, it's just what I just said. That would be up to if the child has desire, and if the community also decides that the person that they're supposed to have intercourse with is not using force, fraud, coercion, manipulation. So I think that the community and the child, if the child so desires to have intercourse with an adult, the parents, caregivers, and anyone that's, I mean, it's just what I just said. That would be up to if the child has desire, and if the community also decides that the person that they're supposed to have intercourse with is not using force, fraud, coercion, manipulation.
Did you just hear what this person said? Did y'all hear what she said? Exactly. Sick. Very sick. She's basically making a case for PEDO, you know the rest, saying that a parent can give consent for a child to have relations, intimate relations with another adult. And what is this crap about the community? Let me tell you something. The community didn't give birth to my children, and the community will not be making any such decisions regarding my child doing such as that, and somebody thinking they can do that with a child. How can you even say that a child would not be coerced or manipulated into something like that? Because children are children and they're innocent, and they don't have the ability to reason to have such a thing as that with an adult. That is just pure evilness. This person has changed her name 4 different times since she started trying to seek fame in Los Angeles when she went there. I think she was 19 when she went there. And then she says, and then like she has a huge platform, you know, and with the backing of Elon Musk and that kind of thing. And like a lot of this stuff is tried to be erased, or, you know, they'll do PR correction, you know, public relations corrections. Oh, really? Yeah, right. As Whoopi says, Whoopi doesn't know her butt from a hole in the ground. And it's a shame. I used to be so blind. I did. These people, even John Walsh, I was so blind and fooled, and I was still stuck in the matrix, you know, what they want us to believe, the illusion, the lie. And the truth of the matter is, that's why I keep pushing that Trance movie by Cathy O'Brien, because I mean, I even know a lot. I really do. But still, I just, with my mouth open, just stood there, because I have obviously watched her a lot, because, you know, for years, there wasn't even really anything you can find about this stuff to even find out that I'm not a weirdo, you know, I'm not the crazy one. Like, this really happened, and these memories are real. Because, you know, you tell people when you're a child about something like that, like a friend at school or something, and then they probably go home and tell their parent or something, or either they themselves don't know even how to deal with that. So then they stop being your friend. So you do it once or twice, and then you understand that, hey, that's not something I'm supposed to be saying, because I can't even keep a friend from if I talk about it. And it's just like a child learns at an early age to be quiet about things, even if their parents aren't involved in it or tell them to be quiet. It's almost like a learned behavior or an innate protective device, just like the disassociation that Cathy O'Brien was talking about. And I'm sure all of you who know what I'm talking about and you've been there, what trauma does, and it causes you to disassociate because I was watching another person. I'm not going to mention her name because she's not on here right now and not giving me permission, but I watched her video this morning. I think that she made, maybe last night she might have made it, but she said that somebody asked her whenever what happened to her as a child, did it hurt? And she said she thought that was such a strange question. And but she answered it exactly like what I was thinking whenever she was saying it. No, like I don't remember the physical pain when it happened to me. The main one time that I have the most memory of, which was a ritual situation. And that is because I do remember coming to after being drugged a little bit drowsy, but I fell asleep fully clothed in the front, just looking at the black and white checkered floor in the hallway where the fountain was. And I just remember one lady was there, and she was out there with me, like I guess babysitting me while they were all in the inner sanctum, I guess as they call it. But they have a thing in there. It looks like an altar, almost like a casket, but it's not. It's just a big wooden thing, and they put different belief books on it when I guess they're not using it for other things. But it was dark in there except for a bunch of candelabras that had lights or candles on them. And I just remember waking up and being on a hard surface. And I didn't really know what it was, but I wore a dress, and I'm going to issue a warning here. And if y'all can't hear it, I can understand that. Y'all can just come back and watch another live of mine if this is too much. And I'm 5 years old, okay? And I mean, I can remember the dress I had on. I can remember my hair being in little pigtails. Like, when you have trauma, you remember exactly certain visual images. And it may not be the whole thing because, like I said, our brain and God protects us from the actual trauma many times. And I did feel the cold table under me at one part, but I also felt, and I knew what velvet felt like, and it felt like a piece of velvet like under my bum area. And I'm not even sure why that was there, but it felt like I went back out again. And the next thing I knew, I was like hovering over my own body, looking down at myself, laying there. And from the top, I could see these men in black robes that were kind of like a judge's robe. It looked like it might have had a hood on the back. I'm not sure, but the hoods were not on all of the people because I remember looking down and remember seeing bald heads on the men, like a Dr. Phil kind of haircut. You know what I'm talking about? Like the bald at the top with the hair just around the rim. And not everybody, but I just remember that distinctly. Somebody had hair like that. Wicked, you remember everything? Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. You left your body too. Well, that's what I mean. I mean, I saw it, but like, I don't know. It's like I didn't feel the pain of what was happening right then because, like, I wasn't in my body. So it's kind of like after it's over, you know, you remember the pain of it. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Did it? I mean, you don't have to answer this. Just say, I don't want to answer. Yeah, that's me. I blocked it out, a lot of it. And like I said, whenever I went to Washington, D.C., 2 years in a row with my 33rd degree Freemasonic grandfather, who, for all I know, at that time in the 70s, took me for this ritual. I don't even know where the ritual took place. It could have been in my local Masonic lodge, or it could have been in the one in Washington. I'm not sure, because I was in pageants like John Bonet. I think I've mentioned that before on here. And, you know what it does whenever, I'm so sorry to you also. Wicked says, I'm so sorry to you also. Thank you, Wicked. And we just got to stand together and we got to protect each other and we got to lift each other up. Karen says, I created the pure. I can't even say that. By, is it bifurcated self? Oh, bifurcated self. I became two people. Bad me, good me. I understand that. I completely understand that, Karen. It was not SRA, but the MOLE part. Yeah. Either way, whether it is SRA or SA, it is severe. That's trauma so severely that a child, when you're young, you don't even realize, like, you're so young that you freeze a lot. It's just you freeze up. You don't even know how to respond because something in you is telling you, like, this doesn't feel right, or this is not right, or it hurts, or whatever's going on. It's not, but you're so scared because you're just a kid and these are adults. It does, Katrina. It does. It messes with our brains so much. And what I'm trying to say, oh yeah, like narcissistic abuse. And you got to think about it. These people who do this are the height of narcissists, first of all, because they feel entitled to do whatever they want to do to a child. It's okay. And Wicked, that's right. Bless us all. Anybody who has been essayed, even molestation of the mind by grooming, even if it didn't get any further than that, that is still trauma. Oh no. You're brutalized by your mom, but not. So your brothers and sisters were not brutalized by your mom. Only your brothers and no, you were, but they were not. That's weird. Were you the oldest child? Or like, that's I'm not saying that might happen. Like, one child just seems to get the brunt of things sometimes. But usually, like in a family like that, it usually does happen that a lot of the kids are done that way. But I will say now, in some families, like, okay, let's look at Anderson Cooper. I don't know if any of you know, he's a Rothschild, and Gloria Vanderbilt is his mother. Okay. And he lived, the Vanderbilt mansion that's in Asheville, North Carolina. Well, excuse me, if there's a picture of him actually, and I have been to the Vanderbilt mansion, and I have a very, very strong spiritual discernment, and I always have. And I went in the room where the pool is. It's an indoor pool. This is even before I was even like, this is before I realized all the, I had some flashes of what happened to me, but I didn't understand it still. I was pregnant when we went there. I was still married to my ex-husband. I was maybe 19 at the time, and I was pregnant with like my second or third child. But I got married at 17. That's another thing. To another very high Freemasonic family, and the person, their son, who was a good long bit older than me. I really should have never gotten married at that age. But he was very narcissistic and very abusive, even to my children, and I didn't know that. But thank God I got out of it when my children were very little. My youngest was 6 months old when I left. So I know God was protecting them even before I had any sense to know what was going on. You got the brunt of it, Callie says. She got the brunt of it. And that's so hard because, a lot of times kids will think, well, if I take the abuse, then my siblings won't get it as much. And it's almost like they almost allow themselves sometimes to be done that way because they love their siblings so much and they try to protect them. I mean, it's just so sad. And you know why this continues to go on? Like I said, because we just now have had a platform where we can get this stuff out, like in mass, where other people can actually hear our stories. And I don't know if any of y'all, have had the chance. I want to take this woman down and I can't even stand to look at her. And I feel bad about saying that because I do feel like she is a victim. Like at some point she was a victim. But there is a time that when we are older and we know better, we have to protect other people. Callie Karen says, I pray all the angels and the demons receive their just reward. So be it. Thank you, Yahweh. Yes. Amen. Amen. They will. Look, and y'all, I mean, seriously, look at everything that's going on right now. I don't know if y'all been watching about all these things. They're trying to pull out an alien deception on us right now. And my husband was like, he looked like he saw a ghost, literally. When he was looking at TV last night for a minute on the news, and like a Marco Rubio was talking about it, and JFK, I think he's the cousin of John F. Kennedy who got assassinated. I was a little bit younger than that, not much. And that is another trauma thing that happened okay, this is an example of trauma for people who haven't been through it. If you're old enough to know the day that JFK died, I promise you, if you are alive at that time, you can recall where you were when you heard the news. You could probably even in your mind close your eyes, look around, see things that you know what I'm saying, like just colors of things, newsstands, whatever you're around, you recall it. And that's how trauma works. Same goes with Elvis. When Elvis died, like I was like 7 years old, and I literally remember like when it came on the radio where I was. It was traumatic for me as a child because I listened to him constantly, and it's just the truth. And let's see. Yeah, hologram tech. Yeah, not only that, we got to remember there are fallen angels, there are demons, and we've got to understand. If you watch the Trance movie by Cathy O'Brien, she explains a lot of this even in there. They our government has kept things very quiet and hidden things from us for a very, very long time. Let's see. Just think about Area 51. Seriously, I'm just saying, and I do not believe in aliens, like, off aliens from another planet and stuff. But I do know that fallen angels and demons are real, and I personally believe that is what these things are. And, I'm not going to get into the reptilian aspect of all that, but you do have to look at the royal family and being involved with the Jimmy Savile or Savile, however you want to say that last name. He was knighted into the royal family as a knight. He had constant access to come in and out as he pleased. And he was given like control over so many children, orphan homes, and insane asylums for children who went there they weren't even anything wrong with them, but they were put in there. And of course, the experiments they put them through caused them to have problems. Yes, I agree. Cathy O'Brien has such a beautiful soul. And I just pray for her because she lost her husband, who actually rescued her out of this mess several years back. And I know she's got to just feel so lost. And I just pray for her. Callie Karen says, we 3 children hated one another. Alcoholic dad, same. Abused teenage mom, same. Receipt for disaster, yes. 1960s Washington, D.C. area. See, all that stuff seems to be so much surrounding Washington and that area. Now, I don't live up there. I just was invited up there to sing for the president, Jimmy Carter, at the White House at Christmas time 2 years in a row at the age of 6 and 7. Katrina, yes. Carol Ann was a spoiled, entitled biatch when she became a mother. Now, who is Katrina? No, I mean, who is Carol Ann? I'm sorry. I'm not sure who that is. You're right, Katrina. An alien invasion will be a false flag. That's just the next step in what they've already started with the sea, if you know what I mean. Laurel MD had a children's center and used children as guinea pigs for medical experimentation. Whoa. I didn't hear that. Your mom? Callie? Oh, your so-called mom. She was, oh, Carol Ann was her name? Okay, I got you. Yeah. Unfortunately, when people have children young, and if they're not able or don't have a mothering instinct really for whatever reason, the children really, really pay for it. Unfortunately. And I mean, we can see it's getting worse. Like, it is not getting better. And that's why I say, like, look, when we know better, we got to do better. And when we see things happening that aren't right, if we'll speak out about it so that these people can be brought to justice, because they need to be brought to justice. Now, listen, I understand we don't wrestle with flesh and blood and all that. But still, I mean, we cannot allow children to continue to be harmed and hurt and traumatized, because think about how many children have had some sort of abuse done to them by the time that they start school. I think they say that it's half of children. Now that's reported. Think about how many children don't tell. Yeah, like in the Grown Poltergeist, which goes down another rabbit hole because Steven Spielberg, you have to go eat food. Love. Oh, well, thank you for joining us, Callie. Come back up because I would like to do it when we have more time because this was kind of impromptu. And I would love to have some of you guys that feel like you can talk and, tell your story to come up here on panel, because this stuff needs to be said, and we don't need to be intimidated by bullies to shut us up or back us down. But bye, Callie, and I hope you enjoyed your food. I want some sushi. I'm hungry. I want something too. Another brilliant woman who diligently did her work on the topic of occultism, etc., with courage and was therefore killed. Oh no. Tracy Twyman. Hold on, let me try to put a banner on that so people can see that. Hopefully they will. People can look that up. Wicked, I'm so happy you're here too. And like I said, like I would love it. Like I know because I'm fixing to eat too. But like maybe, I don't know, I'll put a notification out for anybody who has been a victim of any kind of, this stuff that we're talking about, to come up on panel and we can all discuss it. That's right. That's right, we are. And the thing is that, people can have empathy for people who have been through something, but unless you've been through it, it's kind of like you don't know. We love you too, Callie Karen. And we've got support now. We've got people that are willing to stand up and say, you know what? I'm not going to be quiet anymore. In fact, I'm a member of a group called Silent No More, and it's post-abortion. It's a post-abortion ministry because my parents forced me to have an abortion very much against my will when it was around my 15th birthday, and I did not have any kind of pain relief or sedation. I was wide awake. I can barely go to the dentist. Like, I have horrible teeth because I'm afraid of that sound, that suction sound. It's just trauma and it brings it back. So, literally, to have my teeth cleaned, I would have to be given gas and take something to calm me down, if that makes sense. We love you too, Wicked. And there's another in fact, we did a video not long ago and she came up. Um Lolly, Beautifully Broken. And I love that name because that's how I feel. It's like, yeah, we're broken beautifully though, because God takes all the mess that the enemy meant for our demise and our evil, and he is turning it for the good. And I know he told me it is time for exposure. Like he told me this years ago, exposure was coming. And boy, he wasn't kidding. And I see now what he meant because people are finally shaking off the shame because the spirit of shame's got to go in the name of Jesus off people. It just cannot stay. Shame has to leave. It can't stay. And even when you're born and your mom doesn't want you or wants to have an abortion, even if she doesn't, we still have spiritual things that we deal with, like feelings of abandonment, of shame, even before we're born. That's right, Beauty for Ashes. There's a song Crystal Lewis sang. I don't know if anybody, I'm showing my age, but this was back in the 90s. And she sang a song called Beauty for Ashes, that he gives beauty for ashes and strength for fear, gladness for our sorrows. I think that's how it went. I'm happy I found you because there are few of us, but listen, whenever you add a voice and add a voice and add a voice and add another voice and find another one and another one, soon they're not going to be able to deny this stuff. We are going to be a force to be reckoned with. The enemy made a huge mistake when he messed with us and put his filthy, nasty hands on us when we were children. He made a huge mistake, just like he made a huge mistake whenever he basically forced an abortion on me through my parents. And I look at it because I understand it's not them. They apologized to me later, but it's still the same trauma and damage. And what the enemy meant for my demise and to probably take me out, because I was a wreck after that for so long, it was the thing that made me run to him, to the Lord, to Jesus, because I had nowhere else to go. I had tried everything else. It didn't work. You know, you learn to try to forget things by replacing it with other memories. So sometimes you become promiscuous and you're trying to forget things and make new memories. It's a mess. It is, until we find the Lord. And then our messes turn into a message that helps somebody else that's in the middle of the mess. And once we're out of it, then we can turn around, find some healing for ourselves, and with the strength of our God, reach back down and put our hand out to grab the hand of somebody else that's still in that hole and help pull them out into the bright daylight so they can see that they don't have to live like this anymore. Amen. I'm going to call you Crochet Art. Um, thanks, Doc. Is there a doctor? Um, a doctor in the house. We need a doctor in the house. Well, we know a doctor, the great physician, right? He knows how to heal up every disease, every wound, every trauma in our brain. He knows how to help us. Yeah, healing for our hearts. That's exactly right. I always use that little heart with the bandage wrapped around it whenever I put that down a lot of times. Oh, your name is Sherry. Okay. I'll call you Sherry. Yes, he does. Jesus heals and saves. And he does even more than that. I mean, he can restore us and bring us to a place that we could have never imagined that he would bring us. I have talks with him all the time that I'm just like, Lord, I don't deserve this. I just don't deserve it. And sometimes like I can hear, well, nobody deserves it. You're right. Nobody does. But it's his decision. And because of what we've been through, and because we trust him, he is the one that validates us. Nobody else. Nobody validates us. But Jesus himself, he calls us out, and we have to answer that call, though. We've got to say yes to him. And if we do, be careful because he will use you. He will definitely do it. And, even relationships, until you find healing, relationships are so hard because if your significant other hasn't been through something like this, it's hard for them to understand all the mistrust or why you feel a certain way or why, you know, your sex life might be different than other people's because of things that have happened, whether it be on hyperdrive or not at all. It goes both ways. Oh, yay. Sherry says her boy, your boyfriend got, is that your boyfriend or your best friend? I don't know. Either way, it could be both. Got you a new Bible a couple of weeks ago. Oh, that's cool. And you know what? I know people like to look it up online, and I do that sometimes too myself. But I love my regular hard copy Bible because I've had it since I'm trying to even remember whenever I got it. Gosh, I've had it so long. Maybe 17 years, 15 years. The first one I had, literally the binder fell off of it. I went through it so much, and everything was highlighted in it. Just don't relationship unless you get your connection with the Almighty correct. Amen. You got that right. Well, here's the thing. My husband had some trauma, not like I do, but just from parents being divorced, and he was placed with his aunt and his grandmother, and his dad was an alcoholic, as mine was too. He's also got uncle that was a Shriner. It's like so many people are touched by it. And he was basically an atheist when we got married. I mean, he didn't believe or not believe either way. I guess you would call it agnostic or something. What did Katrina say? I didn't get to see it. Let's see up there. Oh, yeah, about the relationship. Yeah, she's right about that. But God is so good that the dreams he gave me that actually literally saved my soul, it was about the end times, and like I felt so alone and scared, and I thought that I was a good enough person that if I didn't do bad things that would get me in heaven, not understanding any of it. And he gave me these dreams, and he was telling me that just being good wasn't enough, that there had to be a relationship with him. Now, mind you, I grew up in a house that was not Christian at all. Like, I had only my one grandmother that was my mom's mom that was a Christian, and even she really didn't go to church anymore. She hurt her back. And I mean, but what little bit I did get, I got from her. And I'm so thankful to the Lord for her, my nanny, I call her. Yeah. Yeah. What about the alcoholic dads? That's my thing. I was talking to my husband last night even about that. And about, like, I don't remember my father ever doing anything to me, but there are some memories that are kind of weird and that kind of make me feel weird when I think about them. Now, my dad has passed away now, and I have asked him about some things, and he would get so mad at me when I would bring them up, especially about the Freemasons. Like, he would get overly defensive. Now, at the end, thank God, I'm so thankful. The Lord is so good, because he almost died in the hospital from being so drunk. He fell over in the commode with his face forward, and my younger son, but he was an adult, he was in his 20s, actually walked in and found him like that. We don't know how long he had been there, for hours. His face was so swollen, his eyeballs like were even swollen, like there was water behind the clear part of his eyeballs, and it was just horrible. I mean, the enemy is just such a bully. And my father, no telling what he went through because of his father, who is the 33rd degree Freemason. My father made it to the 3rd degree. And every time I always asked him about it, and I found all of his Masonic stuff in his drawer one time. And this was after what happened to me that I remembered. And when I saw that, there was something about it. It was the white gloves and the square and the compass and the apron. And I believe it was a Bible of some sort, but it's a Masonic Bible. It's not real. It's not the real Bible. But when I went in there and asked him about it, and my dad was very low key. This was unlike him. He jumped up off the couch, snatched that out of my hand, and said, "Don't you ever go in my drawers again. Don't you ever touch." Like, in the way he acted, because it was so out of character for him, that was the trauma that made me remember that whole situation even more. And he wasn't even drunk whenever he did that. But the alcoholic fathers, I think that's a generational curse that also goes with Freemasonry, because every single person that I know in my family that are Freemasons are also alcoholics or Shriners. Um, I think it's some kind of a spiritual thing or something that comes on them when they make those vows. You're going to do a lot more things when you're drunk than you would be willing to do normally. So they probably go to the lodge and get all drunk up and do all kind of weird stuff, which I know some about. I know about some of it, and we'll get into that another day, because that's a whole nother story. Giddy Up says, "Only by the grace of God go I. Ask and ye shall receive, seek and ye shall find." Exactly. Giddy Up, you're exactly right. Your stepfather was a Mason, Sherry. Well, see, that's what I'm saying. These are the roots of all of this stuff. And in the military, who knows about Michael Aquino, who was the head of our military and a devout Luciferian? He actually founded or helped found the Church of Set. He used to be involved in the Church of Satan with Anton LaVey, I believe. And he ended up, starting the Temple of Set. He and his wife both have been accused of all kind of things toward children. Well, I appreciate that, Jerry. You've been a blessing to me today. All of the people in here have been a blessing to me today. And that's what I love about the way the Lord works. Like, it's not just a builder for one person's faith. It's a builder for everybody that's involved. When you see the Lord work in ways like that, it's just like, it's like balm for our heart, a healing balm. Sherry, you heard of what? What did you hear of? Oh, Michael Aquino. Michael Aquino. Yeah, and have y'all ever noticed his hair and his eyebrows? I don't know if y'all have seen a picture of him or not, but that man, if you can look at him, you can see how evil he is. And I find it interesting that Oprah, I think he was on the Oprah show. He was on was it Donahue back in the day? He got on almost every talk show there was. They were really pushing him for a while there. Yeah, he's a weirdo, all right. And kids that, said that they even explained what his house looked like on the inside. Now, here's the thing. If those kids had not been taken there, how do they know? And how can they explain what the inside of his house looks like to detail? Unless they had been there. And he's lied and said they had never been there. But think about it. If there are people untouchable like Ronnie Lawson's son in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, what do you think can be hidden on that level of government? It is almost scary. I know we're not supposed to have fear, and I really don't have fear for anything except for God, because the worst thing they can do to us is kill us, and then we know where we're going, right? But at the same time, while we're here, we have to make a difference. And that is us older people who have been through some stuff, who know some stuff, have to stand up and tell the stuff we know. Yeah, Tennessee is where that little Summer Wells girl is missing from. And the sheriff who is over the case for the little girl, his son was none of us knew it, but his son was up on charges for CP and having things that he shouldn't have had. And he's also somehow tied in with that Sherfy guy that was also in the police department, where his son also got in trouble for CP and other things like that. They're all registered now under the sex offender registry. And my thing is this: there was a case, a nationwide case that everybody looked at, that they're still looking. It's been 2 years. It's just like, there's just so much around that whole thing. And my thing is this: if the sheriff's son is involved with CP and is a registered offender, but they only told it when they had to, whenever he had to actually go to court, and he took some kind of a plea. I can't remember of what the name of the plea is called, but he was sentenced to 20 years, okay? But because of the type of plea he took, he only has to serve 1 year of it. 1 out of 20 years for hurting children. Because listen, let's get real about this. If somebody's sitting around watching CP, they're going to act on it. They're going to act on it. They wouldn't be watching something they weren't interested in, and that's disgusting. So nobody could watch that unless they were interested in that type of thing, okay? So, and where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Yeah. I'm worried about her too. You followed it for a minute and you got an Amber Alert on your phone. Oh, you're in Tennessee. Oh, are you talking about the Amber Alert for summer, or you just got or is there another Amber Alert now that just went out? I mean, kids are going missing right and left. I mean, this is crazy. It's like it's out of control, very much out of control. And also Megan Walsh, she brings up a really good point. So many children are trafficked through CPS. It is like 80%, they say, of trafficked children that end up older, when they find them on the street, they all come out of the foster care system. Not all of them, but about 80% at least. And that's just reported. So, like, if somebody would put the stops on CPS and hold them a little bit more accountable before they start taking children and throwing them in with strangers that they pay to watch them, if you got to think about it, where are the pedos, going to go? They're going to be where the kids are. They're going to be working in the schools. They're going to be working in the daycares. They're going to be going to church. And because, do you know why? Because they're going to put themselves around children. And speaking of that, with Summer, anybody that's followed that case, see, there's so many people. It's like you can't even mark anybody off. There's so many people that it could be. And that Dodson guy, the flute player that joined that church, literally on June the 5th, he played the flute on stage on June the 6th. And then little Summer goes missing on June 15th. He admittedly has taken those kids places. And, those kind of people tend to notice when, children, like the Ghislaine Maxwell situation. Hold on, what are you doing, honey? Oh, I'm a little bit hungry. But, like, she literally went to trailer parks and looked for young girls that did not have money. And then she lied to them and lured them, you know what I'm saying, back to a trap. Now, kids are always taught stranger danger, about men. But when women come, they don't expect that. So these people use women and other children, other victims, when they use them to lure other kids back to their lair. That's what I call it, their daggum lair, like the devil's den. Yeah, he was very strange. Then he all of a sudden leaves that church and goes to another one. Yeah, I think he did more than leave the church. He ended up getting married. He let his daughter have his house, which had a basement in it, by the way, which worries me to death, because I found out where he lived and went on Google Earth and went down over his house and looked at it. And I pulled his house up to see, like, what the specs were on it, to see if it had a basement in it, because I don't want to talk about why, but I just had this feeling, and I didn't even know later that he actually had a mortician's license. He owned a mortuary back in Texas, where he came from. He has a tattoo on his arm that links him back to the Branch Davidians in Waco. Like, there are so many things. So many things. Yeah, you're right. A woman, to me, that does that is a monster, because here's the situation. Women are born most of the time with a mother's instinct. You know what I'm saying? And if they don't have that mother's instinct, something's missing. Because even people that are born in captivity and born, like, they're breeders and stuff, and they have these babies in places, I could just see that it's just, to me, it's worse when a woman does it. It's bad enough for men to do this, but when a woman does it, it's just like on another level, in my opinion. So I think that literally, like, if they've got prisons, they need to take the people out of there for drug charges and things like that. If they didn't hurt anybody, I mean, people that hurt themselves, seriously, if they're a drug addict, and that's not causing them to commit crimes, they just sit around and do it themselves or whatever, and it doesn't cause them to commit violent crimes, is what I'm saying, or hurt children or anything. Like, those people are usually content with hurting themselves, like off that movie about the alcoholics and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that some of them don't deserve jail time because they get into so many other things along with that, but I'm saying that the jails need to be reserved for people who actually hurt people, who hurt other people. And then they need not prison, but if somebody's got an addiction, they need to be in rehab. They need to sentence those people to rehab, and forced rehab until. Same with child predators. Personally, like I've said a long time ago, I'm sorry, I don't have much hope in those type of people turning their life around, because once you get to a certain point, it's like you're given over to a reprobate mind almost. So, like, to me, if somebody gets caught doing that to a child, they ought to have something like an Epstein Island, but out in the middle of the ocean, so far that there is no possible way they could get anywhere. Like out in the middle of like the Pacific Ocean, like in the middle of here in China, that there is just no possible way, and that the sharks would get them if they went even halfway anywhere off the island, kind of like the Rikers Island situation, but way, way, way further away. And just like have a military plane or something drive by once a month and drop food down in there and leave them like the Lord of the Flies or something, and let them take care of themselves. Because I don't think that we should have to feed these SOBs. Exactly. I mean, I'm thankful that they put these, lists up about these offenders. But do people understand that most offenders go their whole life without ever even being charged with a crime? So that is kind of a false sense of hope or a false sense of security, because just because your neighbor doesn't show up on the registry doesn't mean he's not an offender. I know this for a fact. But it's getting late. It's 5:35. I know we all got to get to getting what we're going to do for supper. So I'm going to say a quick prayer and get off. Father God, I just thank you for this time today and for meeting other people who are going through these same things, Lord. I ask you to just meet them where they are. Father, I ask you to sing over them as they sleep and heal them. Father God, I thank you for what you're doing in lives. And even though these people have tried to destroy lives when they are little, just starting out, the innocent is who the enemy is after, the children. So Father, I ask you to protect the children and even the grown-ups that were once children and this was done to. Lord, I ask you to go back to that little child in them, that inner child in them, and heal them from there, from that place where that trauma happened and started. Lord, you're that good. Time is nothing with you. So, Father, I just thank you because nothing is impossible with you. And I believe in your healing. I believe that you're able to transform us into a whole new person, into a whole new life, Lord God, that is good, that comes from you. Because if something is not good, it is not from you. So, Father, I just rebuke every fiery dart from the enemy that would come against somebody that would try to stand up and tell the truth. I ask you to put a hedge of protection around us, Father, that the enemy cannot cross. And I thank you, Lord, for your sovereign grace and your love for us. Even before we ever even knew you, you were looking over us, Lord, and I know that. And I know that evil things happen in this world because there are evil people. Father, you give us free will, and I understand that you don't want these things to happen. But when they do happen, I understand that you're right there with us and that you will bring us out of it on the other side whole. And Father, I thank you, and I ask you, anybody that is still in this, Father, that you would reach down and pull them out of that, and that you would lead them to a group somewhere that they can find hope and they can find healing, because the enemy has already taken enough of a life of a child who's been through these things. He's already stolen enough. So we ask you right now to go to the enemy's camp and plunder it and steal back every single thing that the enemy has stolen from us. Our joy, our peace of mind, our sanity at times, the way we view things. Father, I just ask you to just heal us from a cellular level, Lord, and just help us each day become more and more like you want us to be, which is like Yeshua HaMashiach, our salvation. I know that none of us are perfect. We all fall short. We all mess up. We still have anger issues sometimes. We still have things that we deal with because we're still in a fallen world. But we are in you, in this world. So we have to be in this world, but we're not of it. We're not from here. Our home is a different place. And right now, we're just passing through. And while we're passing through, we're trying to learn and we're trying to help others. Father, that's what we're here for. We're here to try to help others find their way home too. So, Father, right now, I know that you leave the 99 to go back for that one every single time. And there are so many ones out there. I just ask you to leave the 99 righteous on the hill and go back for the one every time. And Father, I thank you for this time today and for the people that you've brought together for such a time as this. And Father, I ask you to use them in a mighty way, and that the enemy would regret the day they ever laid hands on any of these children, because that is who is going to take him down in the end with the help of Jesus Christ. He is coming back and he is going to set things right. One day, I feel very soon. And when that day comes, they're not going to be able to find a place to hide. There's not going to be one place to hide. And exposure time is already here. So they're being exposed already. So, Father, I just thank you for the exposure and for you allowing to let it go and let it happen. So that these people are standing there just with no answers, with their hands just like, what can I say? Like Ghislaine Maxwell that was brought out. Lord, there are so many more like her. And like a Jeffrey Epstein. These people are just the tip of the iceberg. Father, I ask you to break the iceberg open and just let it float to the top so that we can see how deep this thing goes. Father, I thank you. I praise your name. And I thank you for all the things that you've already done in many lives and the things that you're doing now and will continue to do. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Well, I love you guys. And I just want to tell you thank you. And I'm so appreciative of you coming here today and spending this time with me. And I hope you come back. I hope you come back so we can discuss this further. And I want to give anybody a voice that has been through this. And I didn't even see Yanni on here. Oh, hey, Yanni. I wish I would have seen you. A lot of times when I look down and I can miss what's going on. But I just love you, and I love all of you, and we are sisters in this, and we are not going to relent until something is done, until everybody knows what is going on, so children will be safe, and we will find healing in that. I love you guys. Thank you, Sherry. We'll see you again soon. We'll be back on soon. Love you. Bye-bye. I hope y'all have a great day.